Many thanks. And I now call on Alex Rowley to be followed by Mark MacDonald.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I would also congratulate Kevin Stewart and the committee for the report that they have brought forward. I think it makes a very useful contribution to the ongoing discussion about community renewal and community regeneration. If I could draw the Minister's attention very quickly to some of the work that's going on by the Carnegie UK Trust, because one area of regeneration is obviously town centre regeneration, and I saw that Boots kindly sent a brief on that to members. And the Carnegie UK Trust launched a test town, that's what was called the project last year, up in Dunfermline, and there was some interesting results of that, and they've now rolled that out currently right now across the UK, and there is some interesting results there. But certainly one of the issues that came up there was the levels of rent that was being charged for some of the properties within town centres, and that certainly was a major barrier for new opportunities for people to try out new businesses. In terms of the wider report, I'm certainly a big supporter of the moving forward in terms of community planning, and I think that is something that's moving at pace as well. The committee took evidence last week, the week before, for Chief Executives of local authorities, and the Chief Executive of Fife Council set out how they were progressing with community planning, both at a strategic level but also the local community plans that were being established at a much more area-based level, and we've heard evidence come from elsewhere. And I think that is an important development that's at different stages at different local authorities across Scotland, but it's an important development that will engage with local communities and start to ensure that local communities are engaged in setting out what the priorities are at the local area. So I certainly welcome that and think that that's an important development. It's about getting joined up policies, joined up strategy, joined up government at the local level, agreeing a set of priorities and being able to move them forward. But that's something I think that the Scottish Government fails to do in terms of the paper itself, in terms of looking at how you have joined up government from the Scottish Government. I welcome the recognition that regeneration is not just about physical regeneration, it's got to be about social, and it's got to be about economic regeneration. I remember, I'm old enough to remember some 30 years ago, and areas in my own constituency where there were areas there that qualified at that time for the old urban aid programmes, because the levels of deprivation and the levels of poverty that were in those communities. And if you go into those communities today, you would not recognise them in terms of the physical regeneration that's taking place. But if you then look at the socio-economic stats for those areas, very little has actually changed over that 30-year period. And that's why we need therefore to focus on the economic regeneration if we're serious about tackling poverty and inequality across Scotland. And it's got to be about jobs. I've said time and time again that throughout history, people never march for benefits or for higher benefits, people march for jobs. And the answer to getting people out of poverty is giving them the ability to be able to earn a decent wage, earn a living, and be able to look after themselves and their families. And if we're going to do that, then we need to tackle the skills agenda. We need to be looking at a much more radical approach to education, because in those areas of deprivation there is a general view for the educationalists that those schools, for example, will perform at a lower level than schools in other areas where they have a much more wealthier background and a much better local economy in which they're living in. And that's never been something that I believe we should accept. But that needs bold government policy that says that we will have a redistribution of resources, and we will focus more resources into those areas of deprivation and focus them at the areas where it makes a difference. And that means for the early years, through the primary schools into the secondary schools, better links up with the colleges, so that young people have the opportunities to gain the skills and the education opportunities that will set them up for the rest of their life and being able to access employment. That's just not happening at this present time. And when I talk about joined-up government policy, if you take, for example, the Fife area, since 2007, there has been a 54% reduction in the number of students attending Fife colleges. The numbers who were registered to attend, who had no formal qualifications, has fallen by a staggering 73%. If we are serious about tackling inequality, deprivation and regenerating those communities that suffer from that most, then we need to invest in further in higher education. What we actually need to see is a national strategy right across Scotland for numeracy, literacy and IT skills, the 3 skills for life that people actually need if they're going to progress and get jobs in life. So it's those types of areas and those types of investments that I believe we need to see going in. A joined-up strategy that targets resources, that is absolutely clear what it's trying to achieve, is clear on the outcomes that it's trying to achieve, and is bold enough to say that there has to be a redistribution of money. I finish, Presiding Officer, by drawing attention to a policy that the Scottish Government introduced recently, which was the free school meals. You know, and everybody doesn't have a problem with the idea that you could have free school meals and give everybody free school meals. But in my constituency, at one top side of my constituency, which is the second highest level of deprivation in Fife, over 50% of the children in one of the schools were already qualifying for free school meals based on the deprivation figures. At the bottom side of my constituency, which was a more wealthier area of my constituency, 1% were qualifying based on the deprivation figures and based on poverty figures. So the reality is that if we've got finite resources, if we don't have enough resources, if we're serious about tackling poverty, inequality and regenerating our communities, then we need to be bold enough to target the resources at those communities. That's where this government is failing at present.